Yes, a cafeteria with a coffee maker, sink, microwave, and refrigerator would generally be required to have all outlets GFCI protected, as per National Electrical Code Section 210.8. 3. This section specifically addresses GFCI protection requirements for receptacles located in commercial and industrial locations. GFCI protection is required for 125V through 250V receptacles supplied by single-phase circuits rated 150V or less to ground. This applies to receptacles located in damp or wet locations, and those located in certain specific areas like kitchens, bathrooms, and rooftops. The purpose of GFCI protection is to prevent electrical shock. A GFCI, or ground fault circuit interrupter, is a device that monitors the current flowing into and out of a circuit. If it detects an imbalance, which indicates that some current is leaking to ground, it quickly trips the circuit, cutting off the power and preventing a potentially fatal electric shock. In a cafeteria setting, the presence of water from sinks and the potential for spills around appliances like coffee makers and refrigerators create a damp or wet environment. This increases the risk of electrical shock, making GFCI protection necessary. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is a set of standards for safe electrical installation and wiring. It is updated every 3 years and is widely adopted by states and municipalities as the basis for their electrical codes. The NEC provides detailed requirements for various aspects of electrical installations, including GFCI protection. When interpreting the NEC, it is important to consult the specific edition adopted by the local jurisdiction. Local amendments may also apply, so it's essential to verify the requirements with the local electrical inspector or authority having jurisdiction, also known as the HA. Let's delve into the specific wording of NEC 210.8. B3. This section likely includes language specifying that receptacles installed in commercial kitchens or areas similar to commercial kitchens require GFCI protection. The term kitchen is often interpreted broadly to include areas where food is prepared, served, or cleaned up, making a cafeteria a likely candidate for GFCI requirements. The receptacles that specifically require GFCI protection are those readily accessible. This means that they can be easily used by people in the cafeteria. Receptacles behind equipment that are not readily accessible may have different requirements. Consider the specific appliances in the cafeteria. A coffee maker uses water and electricity, creating a potential shock hazard if there is a fault. A sink, by its nature, introduces water into the environment. Microwaves and refrigerators, while generally considered safe, can develop faults that could lead to electrical shock. Therefore, it is crucial to have GFCI protection for all receptacles serving these appliances. To ensure compliance with the NEC, it is essential to conduct a thorough review of the electrical installation in the cafeteria. This includes inspecting all receptacles, wiring, and grounding systems. Any deficiencies should be corrected by a qualified electrician. The electrician should also verify that the GFCI devices are functioning correctly by testing them regularly. GFCI receptacles have a test button that can be used to simulate a ground fault and verify that the device trips. It's also important to note that GFCI protection can be provided in several ways. Firstly, a GFCI receptacle can be installed at the point of use. Secondly, a GFCI circuit breaker can be installed in the electrical panel to protect the entire circuit. Thirdly, a combination of both can be used for added protection. The choice of which method to use depends on the specific circumstances and the preferences of the electrician and building owner. When installing GFCI receptacles, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. The receptacles should be properly grounded, and all wiring connections should be secure. The GFCI receptacle should also be readily accessible for testing and maintenance. If a GFCI receptacle trips frequently, it could indicate a problem with the appliance connected to it or with the wiring in the circuit. In such cases, it is essential to investigate the cause of the tripping and correct the problem. Ignoring frequent GFCI trips can be dangerous, as it could indicate a serious electrical fault. In addition to GFCI protection, other safety measures should be implemented in the cafeteria to prevent electrical hazards. These measures include using properly grounded appliances, keeping electrical cords in good condition, and avoiding overloading circuits. It is also important to train employees on how to use electrical equipment safely and how to respond to electrical emergencies. Regular electrical inspections should be conducted to identify and correct any potential hazards. These inspections should be performed by a qualified electrician who is familiar with the NEC and local electrical codes. The electrician should check for things like loose wiring, damaged insulation, and overloaded circuits. They should also test the GFCI devices to ensure that they are functioning correctly. Furthermore, consider the specific requirements for receptacles located near sinks. The NEC often has stricter requirements for these receptacles due to the increased risk of electrical shock. These receptacles may need to be located a certain distance from the sink or be protected by a specific type of GFCI device. It's also important to consider the type of wiring used in the cafeteria. Older buildings may have wiring that is not up to current standards. This wiring may not be properly grounded or may have damaged insulation. If the wiring is not in good condition, it should be replaced by a qualified electrician. When replacing wiring, it is important to use the correct type of wire for the application. The wire should be sized appropriately for the circuit and should be rated for the voltage and current that it will be carrying. The wire should also be protected from physical damage. In addition to the general requirements for GFCI protection in cafeterias, there may be specific requirements for certain types of equipment. For example, commercial dishwashers often require dedicated circuits with GFCI protection. The manufacturer's instructions for the equipment should be consulted to determine the specific electrical requirements. It is also important to consider the accessibility of the electrical panels in the cafeteria. The panels should be readily accessible for maintenance and repairs. They should also be properly labeled to identify the circuits that they serve. The panel should be kept clean and free of obstructions. In addition to the NEC, other standards and regulations may apply to electrical installations in cafeterias. For example, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, has regulations regarding electrical safety in the workplace. These regulations cover topics such as lockout/tagout procedures, electrical hazard training, and the use of personal protective equipment. It's important to be familiar with all applicable standards and regulations to ensure a safe electrical environment. Also consider the lighting in the cafeteria. Proper lighting is essential for safety and productivity. The lighting should be adequate for the tasks being performed and should be evenly distributed to avoid glare and shadows. The lighting fixtures should be properly installed and maintained. Furthermore, the emergency lighting system should be tested regularly to ensure that it is functioning correctly. The emergency lighting system should provide adequate illumination in the event of a power outage. The emergency lighting system should be powered by a backup generator or battery system. To summarize, ensuring GFCI protection for all receptacles in a cafeteria setting with a coffee maker, sink, microwave, and refrigerator is crucial for safety. This aligns with the requirements of NEC 210.8.3, which mandates GFCI protection for receptacles in damp or wet locations and in areas similar to commercial kitchens. Regular inspections, proper wiring, and adherence to all applicable codes and standards are essential for maintaining a safe electrical environment in the cafeteria.